Boy, do I have a doozy for you. You know, people can get really insecure about the size of certain things. You know, some guys can be insecure about certain sizes of certain appendages. Well, Donald Trump is pretty concerned about the size of his plane. Okay? And as I wrote here, everyone knows that size doesn't matter. Everyone knows that size doesn't matter. It's about how you use it. It's about how you use the plane. That's what matters. It's not always about the size, right? It's about how you use it. Well, it still doesn't stop the insecurities from people like Trump, who are constantly going to be whining about how his plane is not big enough. And, you know, that really shows that he has an absolute commitment to the interests of the American people, and how that is his top priority, is making sure that everyone has a beautiful big plane. That everyone has access to healthcare, so their kid won't be unalived in school. You get what I mean. So, Donald Trump is complaining about the size of his plane. I'm sure he's complained about the size of other things, though I cannot comment officially on any capacity, nor do I even want to go there. That all being said, Donald Trump is pretty sad about the size of his plane. You know, he went to Saudi Arabia and he was looking around at all the other guys with their planes and was like, why is my plane not big enough? Why is my plane not big enough? Listen, I want a big plane. I want a big plane. I heard that you go to foreign countries to maybe get a surgery for a bigger plane. I heard that you maybe go to another country like South Africa to go and get a bigger plane. Maybe you go to Djibouti. Let me tell you, Djibouti is a good place to get a plane. So Donald Trump is literally complaining about the size of his plane, of Air Force One. So let's get into it. And we have a lot to talk about here. And we know what the latest talking point, the latest attempted defense against the whole idea of Donald Trump accepting this bribe to the tune of a $400 million plane, okay? So for everyone that's in here, before all the trolls truly scroll in here, you're going to see two different defenses, two different examples of why Donald Trump, and they were from Donald Trump himself. He posted or reposted on his Truth Social someone who made the most wild comparison ever to defend him being blatantly corrupt and taking a bribe. I guarantee that we are going to see a couple comments in here, and I'm already prepared to dismantle them. I'm already prepared. So today we're actually going to talk about, of course, this. We're going to go into a little bit of BS comparisons that are now coming out of the right, and also just doing an overview of this whole situation, how it goes against the Constitution, and what the latest talking points are from the right wing in order to battle this all out. But let's start here. Donald Trump recently traveled to Saudi Arabia, where he landed and was welcomed with lavish gifts and treatment, walking on the purple carpet. There was even a McDonald's truck that was there. Yeah. I don't have any pictures of that, but if you were looking into and reading the headlines, there was literally a mobile McDonald's food truck right there to welcome the president. Girl, that's just wild. Anyway, so I'm going to put away the comments here for a second. Oh, good morning, everyone. Akicha, Cherie, Jacqueline, good morning. Ilisa, Kate, B. Westy. I love all of you so much. So I'm gonna hide away the comments here, and we're gonna get right into it. Okay. That was a coffee burp, sorry. Anyway, Trump grumbles as Air Force One looks puny, parked by Arab leaders' planes. Much less impressive. Listen, everybody knows that size doesn't matter, okay? There's going to be a lot of different sizes when you eventually compare them and, you know, having that coming of age experience. You know, listen, sometimes you're not going to be the biggest sometimes you're not going to be the biggest one there, okay? You got to be okay with that. You know, it's not about the size, it's about how you use it. It's about how you use it, okay? And let me tell you, I know how my plane takes off. My plane takes off, whoosh, gone into the wind, into the wind. Let me tell you, my plane goes higher than other planes. My plane is the best. You know, it's just plainly the best, let me tell you. So, let me get into this here, and then we will break things down further. So Donald Trump was clearly upset about the idea that his plane was smaller. He said, and when you land, you see those planes in Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, and you see Qatar, and you see all of these. They have brand new 747 Boeings mostly, and you see ours next to it. It's like a totally different plane. It's much smaller. It's much less impressive as it is. We are the United States. I believe that we should have the most big and impressive plane. We should have the biggest plane, a plane you've never seen before. So Donald Trump is literally complaining about plane size. That's the priority of the President of the United States, is complaining about plane size. And let's also just for a quick second, just point out that the question of whether Donald Trump can accept this bribe has been what's dominating the mainstream media and headlines in regards to news. What does that say about the current state of American politics? It's not about trying to do anything that actually helps people. Anyway, so going further here, he says, you know, some people say, oh, you shouldn't accept gifts. You shouldn't accept gifts for the country. My attitude is, why wouldn't I accept a gift? Why wouldn't I accept a gift? We're giving to everyone else. I mean, why wouldn't I accept it? Why wouldn't I accept it? Because it's going to be a couple years, I think, before the Boeings are finished. And they will be wonderful when they are finished. But that's a long time. That's a long time. I can't wait that long. I'm going to be too old. I am already too old. I'm falling asleep when people are talking to me. And I think it's fantastic. I think it's great. Their voice is like butter. And I listen to it all day. And it's like, ooh. Also, Donald Trump is literally nodding off while in Saudi Arabia while he was in a certain meeting. And now, of course, like, the man has jet lag. He's also old. It happened to Biden. But also, it's just funny how he's, like, constantly criticized Biden for it. Anyway, going forward here, he said he was in an interview with Sean Hannity here in this moment. And if you're enjoying the stream, please make sure to like the stream. It really does help out the algorithm. I love all of you. While he was on the plane, Sean Hannity literally pointed out and said, isn't it a part of your argument how the United States has paid untold billions and trillions of dollars to securing every aspect of the world? Now pause. Do we provide money in the forms of like mutual aid and loans to other countries through the International Monetary Fund to support other countries? Sure. But what do we get out of it? Influence. They call it soft power, where we're also now bankrupting countries within the global south is what they call it, but it means typically more like lower income, third world countries, although I don't like to say third world countries. So like us securing other parts of the world, spending that kind of money is really soft power, but it's also most of the time thereby actually trapping countries in the global south of the equator, third world countries, into like debt. So the United States has literally bankrupted other countries and we basically have them under our grip. But that's not good enough for Trump. Anyway, so Sean Hannity is like, oh, you know, isn't it also part that we have been paying untold billions of dollars and trillions into securing every aspect of the world? And Trump responds, I said, you know, we've secured that part of the world for many years. So if somebody makes a gift, I get nothing. I get to fly like other presidents would, like any other president would. And then he goes, so the United States has given all kinds of gifts. It's called, oh no, wait, this is what Hannity said. So the U.S. So the U.S. has kind of given them gifts. It's called national defense and security, said Hannity. The Fox News host did not ask about the reports of the plane being transferred into Trump's presidential library, which would then thereby be used for his own personal use. And so he goes, "We have a lot of gifts, too many gifts, to be honest with you," said Trump. "We give gifts to defend countries that wouldn't even exist. Wouldn't even exist all over the world. Countries that wouldn't even exist." God, the man knows how to repeat himself. "But I thought it was a beautiful gesture. Now, there are those that say we shouldn't be accepting gifts from the Defense Department, that we shouldn't be accepting them. And, you know, I would say only a stupid person would say that. That's why out of all the relatively new planes, instead we have 40-year-old planes. You know, that's not representative of our country." The priorities of our current American president is totally out of whack. He is prioritizing, why don't I have the biggest plane? Why don't I have the flashiest plane? Why can't I have the newest plane? Wah, wah, wah. Dude, do your job as president. Do your job as president. If you're in the stages of getting a new Air Force One, great, awesome. That's fine. But in the meantime, why are you constantly whining about the fact that your plane is too small? Everyone knows that size doesn't matter. So, obviously, this kind of defense has not been working, saying that, like, it's for the American people, except it's planning on being transferred to Trump's presidential library after his presidency, which then would be used for his own personal use. And why would you need a plane in a library? What, are you gonna read books on the plane? Like, what? Anyway, so it's really just to be used for his personal use. Now, I don't often check the comments. But I'm looking specifically for certain comments by some folks making BS comparisons. Has to my mods in here, have there been people who have been making any sort of comparisons of any kind that don't make any sense in regards to gifts? Have you seen any gifts to the United States? So have you all seen any of those? I don't see any yet. The reason I say that is because Donald Trump has given his new line of defense, mark my words, is going to be on the lips of every single right-winger. Every single right-winger. And I'm going to show you why that comparison is already bad. But just prepare yourself for the next 24 to 48 hours for every right-winger to be spewing this specific propaganda point. Because Donald Trump reposted something on his Truth Social. And of course, like sheep, like brainwashed people, MAGA are going to repeat it and reiterate it on steroids. And it's the most BS comparison ever. It's the most BS comparison ever. So I appreciate every single one of you. I don't see people making that comparison just yet. But anyway, so obviously Donald Trump is upset because his plane isn't as big as the others. And again, all sizes matter. All plane sizes matter, okay? But also just put things in perspective, this was a YouGov poll that was recently done. YouGov polls are polls that are taken online, and there were 3,612 U.S. adults that were surveyed in this. Again, this poll, YouGov polls are kind of like quick polls. They can be accurate, but they're also not like the end-all be-all, okay? This is what the poll showed. That this was the prompt. The Trump administration is set to accept a gift from Qatar's royal family of a luxury jet to be used as Air Force One. Later, ownership of the jet will transfer to the Trump Presidential Library Foundation, which will then be for his own personal use. Do you think it's acceptable or unacceptable for the Trump administration to accept this gift? 47% of the American public said unacceptable, 30% said acceptable, 23% said not sure. When breaking down by political party or partisanship, you can see under the acceptable that most of the people who said it was acceptable are Republicans at 58%, 13% are Democrats, and 24% were independents. Among the people who are who do not view this as acceptable, it was 75% of that unacceptable group were Democrats, 48% were independents, and 15% were Republicans. So it's interesting to see how these people are thinking about it. But again, overall, Overall, 47%, almost a majority of the people in the United States already view this as unacceptable. Only 30% view it as acceptable. 23% are not sure. Again, that's only one poll. That's only one poll. So other polls could show other things. We shall see. This is still something that is development. And if you listen to any political scientist, you can't just look at one poll and say that that is representative of everything. Though, you also can't just ignore polls you don't like. Got it? So, putting that all in context, Donald Trump is trying to find new ways to defend this blatant corruption. As a brief overview, for those people who might not have heard, Donald Trump is set to accept a $400 million bribe. $400 million bribe in the tune of a luxury plane, also known as the Palace in the Sky. And let me just do a quick little overview, and then I'll get to recent developments, which are really, really damning, let me just say. Donald Trump is set to accept this luxury jet. This luxury, beautiful, beautiful jet. And hold on. Let me get to it really quickly. Where is it? Where is it? Hold on a second. There it is. He's set to accept this luxury plane from Qatar. Qatar, or Qatar, I don't know how it's pronounced. I've heard it said both ways, is a country in the Middle East that is south of Saudi Arabia. The capital is Doha. And Qatar, or Qatar, is very, very wealthy with oil money in particular, and has ties to conflicts in the Middle East. I'm not going to get into all the politics there of everything happening foreign affairs wise. What I really want to focus on is the fact that Qatar is planning on trying to gift this $400 million plane to the U.S., to the Trump administration, to then replace temporarily Air Force One. Air Force One, of course, is the plane that the president and vice president and other officials within the executive branch fly on. And Donald Trump has been very, very obsessed with the fact that he thinks Air Force One is out of date, blah, 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 blah. It's 40 years old. He's talking about how he wants a new plane. I want a new plane. I want a new gorgeous plane. Okay. And so that's the background of this. Now, putting it in context, there is a clause within the Constitution that specifically said that you cannot accept bribes or big gifts unless you get the consent of Congress. So if Congress decides to approve this $400 million gift, I think it would be dumb for other reasons, and I'll get to that, but it technically would be permissible by the Constitution. Basically, when you translate this legal speak, it basically says that no person holding any office, so being elected to any office, shall, without the consent of Congress, the permission by people within the House of Representatives or the Senate, accept any present, emolument, office, or title, any gift, any bribe, any sort of thing that you get in exchange, whatever, from any king, prince, or foreign state. So from any leader of another country. That's basically what that is saying. So you can't get anything unless you get the consent or permission of Congress. Congress, right now, to their credit, doesn't seem like they're a big fan of this, even elected Republicans. To that end, an emolument is basically just a bribe. If you want to go and look up the specific definition, feel free. Now, the reason why this is very much a bribe is because it is a gift in exchange for investment. It has been reported that the Trump family is going to be investing a whole lot of money to build a Trump amusement park, or a resort/amusement park 40 minutes north of Doha in Qatar. And the project is being spearheaded by Qatari DR and DAR Global, but also the people in charge of it are Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr., who have been a part of that project. And so it's going to be a golf course and resort and everything like that. So just want to point out, it will be 40 minutes north of Doha. So that's what the overview of this situation is. Now, Donald Trump claiming that it is somehow a gift to the United States, even though it would then transfer after the end of his administration, assuming he leaves office, would then be transferred to the president, his own presidential library, which would then be for his own personal use. So thereby, it wouldn't be a gift to the United States. People, the American public is not buying that excuse. So Donald Trump recently came up with a new form of excuse. And I wonder if I've seen it in the chat here for at all. I'm wondering if I've seen it in the chat at all. All right. Bro, you're hot. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I haven't seen anyone saying it. Yeah, why are you? I think it's funny when people just scream gay in the chat. Yes, I am gay. Thank you. So while I was looking through Truth Social to see the craziest things that Donald Trump has done, he retweeted this. This is going to be the latest big talking point defense of that all the Trumpies are going to start using, okay? It says here by this person, I don't know who she is, Roberta Abby Wallace, okay? To everyone complaining about this gift, how about the Resolute Desk, aka the Hayes Desk, that was gifted to President Hayes from Queen Victoria in 1880? Or what about the Statue of Liberty, which was gifted from France in 1886? Be truthful. It's only because it is President Donald Trump that you are spewing your idiocy. The plane is not President Trump. It's a gift to America. This is the most nonsense, silly, and I'm using those as lighter terms, comparisons. That's not even a comparison. It's an absolute blasphemy that you even try to connect this. And let me tell you why. If you know the history of any of those things, whether it's the Resolute Desk or the Statue of Liberty, you'll see how absolutely absurd that attempt at a gotcha moment is. So let me break that down for you. This is going to be the latest defense that all these Trumpers start using, okay? So when you confront these people, let me explain to you why. This is something that I wrote in response to Donald Trump on his Truth Social this morning. If you know anything about the history, timeline, and financing of the Resolute Desk and the Statue of Liberty, you wouldn't make this absurd comparison. Let's start with the Resolute Desk, shall we? The gift of the Resolute Desk was from Queen Victoria. Now, pause. The Resolute Desk is basically the desk that the president uses. It is the desk that is in the Oval Office, okay? Just to put that in perspective. The Resolute Desk is from Queen Victoria. It was a gift from Queen Victoria to the U.S. president, and it was a way of the United Kingdom thanking the United States for the rescue and return of the British ship, the HMS Resolute. Okay? So the ship was used in an expedition, and then it was thereby abandoned and lost to the Arctic, and it was recovered by an American whaler, and thereby then returned to England as a token of goodwill. So the United States basically found this abandoned ship that was used for an expedition that belonged to the British government, and they're like, oh, this is your ship. It was lost here in the Arctic. Let's return it to you. As a token of goodwill, the desk, or the ship, was actually taken apart, and several different desks were constructed from the timbers of the ship. And so, as a nice gesture of goodwill, the United States received one of the 4 desks that was created from the ship's timbers. Does that sound like a bribe to you? So Donald Trump's latest defense is whatever this person's attempt. They're like, oh, how about the Resolute Desk? How about the Resolute Desk? Everyone complaining about this gift. The Resolute Desk was an unasked for gift because the United States decided to pay it forward by returning the HMS Resolute to Britain after it was discovered abandoned in the Arctic. And it was not the idea of the president or anyone to try and get anything out of it. See, this is the amount of cognitive dissonance and stretching that these far-right propagandists have to do in order to justify their dictator, their absolute god, Donald Trump. And this is the most This is the absolute epitome. This is a perfect example of how a cult functions. They go with the latest talking point that they can conceive and move forward with it. We have a lot of new people in here. If you're seeking to get my attention in the chat, don't even bother, because I'm not looking at it. If you're new here and you're enjoying the coverage and enjoying the content, please smash that subscribe button. I love all of you, okay? So Donald Trump reposts this, trying to justify that he is taking a bribe, using this person who attempts to make this weird BS comparison about the Resolute Desk. Again, the Resolute Desk was a gift from the United Kingdom, but it was an unasked for gift, as most gifts are, but it was also a token of goodwill. Why? Because if you know anything about the Resolute Desk, literally America discovered the HMS Resolute, which was a ship that was abandoned, that belonged to the British government, and it was lost to the Arctic. And as a token of, and that ship was recovered by an American whaler, and they're like, oh, Britain, this isn't our ship, so we'll just give it back to you. And they're like, oh, that's so nice. You know what? Let's make a desk, and we'll give it to the president. So they didn't ask for it. It wasn't in exchange for anything. A bribe is when you do some sort of corrupt action in exchange for a favor. That's what a bribe is, especially if you are in a position of public responsibility overseeing policy that is crafted for the benefit of a majority of people, and you somehow usurp that idea by favoring one group over another. Was that as eloquent as I thought it was? Wow. Okay. I even surprised myself. That all being said, if you actually want to go and look at the history of the Resolute Desk, it's fascinating. And if you ever watched National Treasure, you might also hear about it. But again, the HMS Resolute was a ship, and it was abandoned at latitude 7441 north, 7141. I don't know how to read those things. At latitude 7441, and north longitude, and 10122 west, or latitude 7441 and longitude 10122. Anyway, you get what I mean. So that's not a bribe. All right, well, what about the Statue of Liberty? And even the AI overview gets this right. Like, it talks about it. Let's talk about the Statue of Liberty, okay? And that's the Resolute Desk. There's another one of the Resolute Desks. So, and again, I go through and like totally compile all of this for you. Most presidents since the Resolute Desk have used it. But let me just speed forward to the Statue of Liberty. The Statue of Liberty is also not a bribe. The Statue of Liberty is also not a bribe. Yet you have a lot of these Trump propagandists that are now trying to claim that it is. This is what they say. The Statue of Liberty was a gift from France. No one was yelling corruption. The Statue of Liberty was a token of goodwill, but it was not a bribe. Let me tell you why. If you know anything about the history of the Statue of Liberty, the statue was jointly financed, partially by the government of France and partially by the United States. The United States paid for the pedestal in which Lady Liberty, also known as Columbia, the person that's in a lot of paintings in American lore, like in the Manifest Destiny, the lady that's like going across the plains, that white people are going to expand westward, displacing a whole bunch of native people from their land. That's technically Columbia. She's supposed to represent liberty or freedom, but it's also completely hijacked the idea because it's like liberty and freedom for who, you know? Anyway, but point is that the Statue of Liberty was not a bribe. It was actually jointly financed between the United States and also the government of France. The United States was the one that paid for the pedestal. They figured out where to put it all on, you know, also known as now Liberty Island or something like that. And this was actually jointly financed by both. Now, the main architect behind it was Edward de la Boulaye, who was a great admirer of American democracy and saw fit to design and build the Statue of Liberty with the help of the person who designed the Eiffel Tower, whose last name was Eiffel. Again, that's why it was called the Eiffel Tower, to represent that the United States, they built the Statue of Liberty as like, oh wow, look at this. You defeated slavery, you defeated the Confederacy, you banned slavery. So this is a good step forward. This is like forward momentum in democracy. I want to do this thing where I build this statue to represent forward progress. That's what it was. Though, again, a bribe is when you do something in exchange for favor for someone else. The Statue of Liberty was jointly financed by the United States and the government and by France. It was also, there was a lot of private investment that was used in it. You want to talk about the original funding or the origin of it? Again, it was a French political thinker, historian, and abolitionist named Edward de la Boulaye proposed creating a monumental statue as a gift to the United States. La Boulaye admired the American fight for independence and the abolition of slavery. The monument was meant to honor the centennial of independence for the U.S. and serve as a symbol of friendship between the two countries. La Boulaye believed that France, which was undergoing its own struggles for democracy, could learn from America's struggles and triumphs. He discussed the idea with Frederic Auguste de Bartholdi, a French sculptor, yada yada yada. It eventually led to the Statue of Liberty. Funding was literally from France and the United States. To raise funds in France, public fees, various forms of entertainment, and lottery were used. In the U.S., to finance the pedestal, benefit from theatrical events, art exhibitions, and auctions, and prize fighters were held. Does that sound like a bribe to you? See, this is the thing. And I have to go here in literally like a minute. This is the thing. Donald Trump will try to do any sort of historical revisionist history, and his followers, his cult people, will try to use the ignorance of their lack of knowledge about history to try and justify their present corruption. It is disgusting. This is why people say it's a cult. And you're going to see a whole bunch of right-wingers start repeating that talking point. Why? Because Donald Trump reposted it on his Truth Social. And now this is going to be their main talking point. Oh my God, the Statue of Liberty was a gift and no one complained. The Statue of Liberty was initially a gift from France, but it was jointly financed by both the United States and France. It was not like a bribe. What Donald Trump is getting right now is very much a bribe. Because a bribe is which Donald Trump is currently receiving. Comes with a favor in return, which you're already seeing in the form of investment in a Trump resort and amusement park 40 minutes north of Doha in Qatar. So that's a bribe. A bribe is when a foreign government gives a big gift for a certain person to use, which we haven't even talked about the national security implications of this. It goes against the Constitution because Congress probably won't allow it, so you violate the emoluments clause, which is in the Constitution itself. But like, when you look at this, when you see that Donald Trump is going to receive this plane to replace Air Force One, and then it transfers into his presidential library, which is going to be for his own personal use after he leaves office, supposedly, that's clearly a bribe. But Trump and the far right literally think, the people who are trying to push this literally think Americans are dumb. So don't prove them right. Anyway, I have to get going. I have to get to work. I love all of you so much. Shout out to my amazing moderators in here. I will be talking more about this. I'll be talking more about this in the near future. I appreciate every single one of you. MFendo, love you. Let's see who is in here. All of my amazing mods. Cherie, Akicha, Jacqueline. I love all of you. Kate, Elisa, Ellie, Jenny, Joanna Tech. Y'all are awesome. I do have to get going. So anyway, just remember that you are beautiful. You are loved. You are valid. You are strong. And you are fierce. Don't let anyone or anything ever, 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 ever dim your shine. I love all of you so much. Bye!